Welcome to this week's test flight, where we're going to be looking at the Eurofighter Typhoon. Please join us. Welcome to the runway. So, you find me with the Eurofighter Typhoon from jceverett, or I'm not sure that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, links down below. So, let's get going with this. The Eurofighter Typhoon is a more modern craft that I normally look at in this series, but we're gonna look at it anyway. We're gonna turn the brakes off because that's always a good idea. You'll notice it is twin-engined. This gives it a little bit more power. Can I turn? Oh, there we go. That's better. Oh dear. Right, yeah, wobbly. Oh dear, we've got an engine out. That's not a good one. Yeah, this is a beautiful looking model, by the way, I should say. So the Eurofighter, if I can ever get it to launch, was actually developed as a joint European plane. Oh, this is hard to get up in the air. So it's an interesting actually concept. It was one of the first aircraft designed that was designed to be unstable in flight, so it actually required computer control to keep it stable, and that was to make it more agile. It was its first flight was on the 27th of March 1994, but it didn't actually get introduced into service, I think, until 2003. So there was a long sort of development period on it, and it was built by a number of European companies for a number of European partners. There was sort of controversy during its development. Firstly, the loss of some of the partners. I think the French decided to leave, and the Italians left and then returned to the project. But on the whole, it is a widely sort of sold craft. So this, I think, looks beautiful. You can see the one thing that I always think about the Eurofighter is that distinctive inlet under the sort of cockpit there. That really, it's almost like somebody, and it's actually probably really hard to demonstrate on Kerbal, but I always think it looks as if someone's broken the spine of the aircraft and then it's sort of disjointed just around there. This craft is not as nimble as the actual Eurofighter. I can say that straight away. It is beautiful, it looks stunning, but it is not as nimble. The Eurofighter, as I said before, was naturally unstable, and that was to give it the ability to be highly maneuverable. If you've got an unstable aircraft, it means that through minor changes you can cause major change in what the aircraft's doing. The Eurofighter was designed basically to be a multi-purpose, or is used as a multi-purpose jet now. Particularly, I'm British, so for me, it's actually taken on the major role as the major sort of multi-purpose role in the Air Force, the Royal Air Force. In the last sort of 10 years, that's taken over. There is talk of its replacement already being developed, and we may look at that in the future if there's any examples, but it's just sort of a paper plane at the moment. However, the Eurofighter, not just limited to Britain and Europe, it's actually been sold around the world. The big issue was that this was a craft that was pretty much planned, designed for the Cold War. Its first sort of test flight was in 1994. It grew up, or once it was developed, or towards the end of its developmental cycle, the Cold War basically ended. Russia, the USSR broke up and formed Russia and so forth, and so it had to, interestingly, sort of find a new role, which it's been pushed into, shall we say. So let's come in for a landing. This again, it's a slow craft. It's got a lot of slow speed turn. I grew up in the Lake District, and if anyone's ever been to the Lake District, it's a beautiful place. But one thing they do is they actually do a lot of training of pilots in the Lake District, because we've got a lot of valleys. Oh, that's an interesting landing style. I think we may be crashing, but really slowly. Oh no, it's just a really slow crash. So I'll put the brakes on. Yeah, they actually do a lot of their flying and their test flying around the valleys of the Lake District at low level, and so you do get to see things like this close up, and it is actually quite staggering to see it going down a valley at the speeds that it travels at. So let's move on to the next one. Well, here we are on the runway with a slightly smaller Eurofighter. Again, it's a craft that doesn't have a Kerbal on board. from initially looking at it, what I can say is that that rear end is a bit too wide. The Eurofighter has a really tapered back end, even though it's got those 2 engines in it. And because this craft is limited by the parts available in Kerbal, it is it's got a wide rear, shall we say. Let's get the gears out of the way. So it is a lot more unstable. This is much more like you'd expect with a Eurofighter. It is much more unstable. So compared to the last craft, this is nimble, but again, it doesn't have the look of the Eurofighter. And this is sort of this thing that the Eurofighter could do. So the Eurofighter was an argument point in Europe when it was being developed. The French left the program because they felt that they weren't going to have the sort of design or authority they really wanted. You'll notice it is a delta wing craft with canards. That was something sort of quite a new, novel design at the time. It is considered or was hoped to be the sort of multi-role fighter, but that originally wasn't entirely going to be that. It became that because of the Cold War, or the ending of the Cold War, because armed forces needed to reduce their actual costs, and a lot of them had put a lot of money into the Eurofighter. Now, it's often referred to as the Eurofighter Typhoon. However, it's not just limited to Europe. So, for example, you have Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, and Qatar that actually have all ordered the craft. It's all of them have orders in or on it. I'm going to try and land this now. I like this. This is a nice little nimble model, but again, the rear end just doesn't make me feel as though it's a Eurofighter. It lands easily enough though, which is good. So we'll pause that. We'll break it. Yeah, so that's the Eurofighter Typhoon by LunarEnterprises, and it's a nice little one, but that back end just doesn't work for me. Even if they'd have clipped the engines a little bit, maybe. But anyway, still a nice craft, and it flies lovely. It's very nimble. So on to the next one. Welcome back. You find me about to fly over the Kerbal Space Center in the Eurofighter Typhoon by SpaceTrashCan. This has one thing that I need to do, which is suggested, and that is to hit 2, because that activates the afterburners. Look at that. Yeah, this is a really nice craft. It actually looks really good. It's highly maneuverable. It's got the sort of inlets that make it look like a Eurofighter. It's got that sort of broken back I was talking about previously. Yeah, I really like this craft. I wonder what it's going to be like to land, actually. So yeah, the Eurofighter first saw military service in 2011, so it had been around a while before it was actually in military combat, and that was in Libya in the hands of the UK's Royal Air Force and the Italian Air Force. So it actually got an outing with both of them at the same time, which I think is really quite interesting. It shows you the multinational sort of approach that it has had. Yeah, this is a beautiful craft. Look at that. It's got a little wiggle on it because it's not that stable, but yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. We're going to cut the afterburners off because I'm going to come in for a land. We're going to get the gears down, even though we're doing close to like Mach 0.8, but we'll do that anyway. It's cool. Pull up a little bit because we don't need to be that low. Let's see where the ground actually is. Oh yeah, we're a little low. So yeah, I really like to land this one. This is a really nice craft. If you are going to fly a Eurofighter, fly this one. Cut the engines. Let's see how it glides. Glide performance. Whee. Still doing 200 meters per second. That's not good. Let's just bleed off a little bit of speed. The one thing I do notice about this craft is the wing angle position. I always think that the Eurofighter flies a bit sort of like it's top dog almost. Oh, there we go. Bit of a bouncy landing. We're gonna bounce and land again, are we? Let's do a side view. This is where it crashes while I'm doing this. I always think it lands a bit like a top dog. It's sort of got its, you see how its nose sort of points down, a bit like Concorde actually in many ways used to do. Oh, we're going to run out of land soon actually. Oh, Oh, we lost an engine. That's a quick way of stopping. Yeah, that's actually me. I'm joking around with this landing. That would have actually been a really easy aircraft to land. You see, it's got an air brake and everything. Yeah, that's a nice craft, even though I've landed it really badly, and I'm not the best of landers. But yeah, so that is the Eurofighter Typhoon from SpaceTrashCan with afterburner toggle, which I think is always useful. Love that craft, actually. I think it's wonderful. I think that's my favourite so far. So let's keep going though, because you never know. Welcome back to the runway again. So we are now here with the Eurofighter Typhoon stock from ZLM-Master. We're going to take the brakes off. We're going to get going. You can notice the unique sort of air brake behind the pilot's cockpit thing on the Eurofighter, which I think is really cool. This is a little bit of a different sort of a design approach to the craft. You can see it's got the distinctive look. It's got a double cockpit, I think, and that gives it a nice sort of large range. It's a slightly larger craft than the others that we've flown. Takes off reasonably well. It is also armed to the teeth, look. The Eurofighter can carry a lot of armament, actually. It's one of the things that's its multi-role requirements. It's very important for it to be able to do. Often it's used as an air-to-air sort of combat craft because of its maneuverability, and so you'd have air-to-air missiles and so forth on it, but it can be used for other things. So let us just see about firing some of these. Let's fire the first set. Oh yeah, and second set. Oh yeah, we've got one set left, and I think I know what we need to do right now. I think we need to do a little bit of redesigning of the Kerbal Space Center. That's what we're going to do. We're going to turn it around. We're going to just, yeah, coming in. Oh, lovely. Now, can I actually line anything up ever? We're going to come in low, because one of the things that the Eurofighter was designed with in mind was the idea of low-level sort of strike fighters, coming in really low and targeting things on the ground, other craft low down, underneath radar. That's what it was good at. That's what it was designed for. So we're going to pitch up a little bit. We're going to fire our missiles. Oh well. Right, let's try and land this thing. Get the gears down. Can we land it in this tiny field? Probably not. We'll probably do a come around. So the Eurofighter's birth, shall we say, was not without trouble. We talked before about France pulling out. Well, Germany, who was one of the major partners of the project, obviously at the end of the Cold War went through reunification, and that was expensive for them. Not because they had to pay for it, but because you basically had West Germany, which had been a capitalist sort of country, having to bring East Germany up to its sort of standard, its level of expected life. You had Germans basically hunting for jobs, and so at the time, I think it was the German Chancellor, was it Helmut Kohl? I believe it was who it was. He basically he needed to get out of Eurofighter because it was costing a lot of money. Oh, look at that was a beautiful landing, by the way. I didn't even realise it landed. Yeah, he needed to get out of it as quickly as possible, and so he tried to get his defence minister to get out of it, but unfortunately it turned out that they'd put in so much money already, and they'd tied themselves in so many knots with the contract agreements with other nations that they really couldn't do it. So let's continue. Right, as the sun comes down, you find us on the runway with another of our Eurofighter Typhoons. So this, however, because it's Kerbal, has a different name. It's not called the Eurofighter. This is the Keurofighter, and this is by Dan for Rescue. The link's down there. Better take off before it goes a bit crazy. This is wobbly on the wheels, isn't it? Oh yeah, that's a lovely shot there. Oh, I wonder what's in the water. I must go and investigate that at some point. In fact, let's do it now. So the Eurofighter, this is really nicely manoeuvrable. They're really nice. Now, I don't think the jet intakes on the bottom are quite right, but it's looking good. It's got a nice sort of shape to it. Yeah. Whoa, it is manoeuvrable, this one. This is twitchy manoeuvrable. Can't fire its missiles or its extra tanks or anything. I wonder if they've just been used to balance it. I wonder what that is. Alright. Anyway, so yeah, this is the very much Kerbalized version of the Eurofighter. It is massively overpowered. I can say that now. The engines are rocking it. Gimbling like a fiend. I do like the tails really responsive. I think let's have a little Yeah, it's got a nice bit of tail movement for a bit of rudder, which we don't really use anymore because I get told off for it. Get the gears down. This is going to be a quick one. This is a nice craft. I'm not sure it looks the best that we've had, but it definitely flies really nimbly. Like a we need to end this flight now. Oh, not like that though. Oh dear. Oh, well, I guess the missiles didn't work last time, but the plane did this time. Yeah, so that was the Keurofighter Dan 4 Rescue. I think that was a lovely little plane there. I'd definitely give it a go. It's very twitchy, maneuverable. It's very much like what I'd imagine the Eurofighter would be like. It's got power, it's got poise, it's lovely. Could look a little nicer, but again, in Kerbal, aerodynamics and looks sometimes don't mix as well. So, on to the final one. So, as the sun sets on this, our final craft of the Eurofighter Typhoon set, oh dear, yeah. This one is a nightmare to take off with. Let's try that again, shall we? Yeah, let's do that again. So, trying that again. This is a very narrow craft. With... oh, that's problematic. Yes, so this is the Eurofighter Typhoon from Hunter 1. It is a very small craft. It's a very loud craft. We're going to pull back a bit. We're going to get the gears in. It is a horror to take off with. I actually included the previous clip because it is not the first crash I have had with this one. This is very much a Kerbalized craft. It's got its extra jet intake there behind the head of the craft. That's actually a real air intake for Kerbal. It's small, tiny. Let's have a go with it. Let's see just how. It's terrible on the ground, but what's it like in the air? Let's have a look. Well, it turns. I wonder whether I've been put off by the fact that it's roll. It's got nice roll characteristics. Can it dive out of a? Can it pull out of a dive nicely? That's the question. Right. It has 4 engines supposedly, but it's a very small craft for 4 engines, so it's potentially overpowered. Well, it's a beautiful view there of the mountains, isn't it? So we're gonna just see what it glides like. I can't recommend this one because it is so hard to take off with. You have to get your SAS on as quickly as possible, and if you don't, it will fall over. I didn't include one where I just had it sat on the runway and it just fell over without me touching it. It was the brakes were on and it fell over. However, flying wise, it's not bad. I don't think it's the best that we've had today, and so, you know, if you're gonna fly a Eurofighter, probably not this one, but it's quite fun and it is quite powerful. And you know what, it's reasonably stable. It's reasonably stable. Get the gear down. Probably a good idea to figure out where I am in the world. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, this is the Eurofighter Typhoon by Hunter 1. I do not think this is going to land easily. Let me put it that way, because it's almost like a bicycle landing gear. In fact. Oh wait, oh. Yeah, that's not easy. 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 Not it. No. 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 I am. Yeah. The Eurofighter Typhoon by Hunter 1. On that one, I will say, have a great one.